Hi, and welcome to Geekology. I'm David.
I'm Sven, and we're joined by Ian. Hi, Ian.
Hey, guys.
Right, we're going to be doing our top 5 favourite Star Trek episodes, and this covers all of Star Trek and counting the films as episodes. So this is where things get interesting. We've also allowed up to 5 honourable mentions, because otherwise we literally could be here all night.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Just for clarification, though, yeah, this isn't episodes we think are best for the ship or best for character development. It's the ones that we actually just enjoy. Not ones this encapsulates Star Trek. This is the tap that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right, absolutely.
God, we're in trouble.
It could be worse. It could be our favourite films of all time.
You really will not let me go that Mamma Mia's in my top 10, will
Nope.
you?
Never gonna happen. Never,
It's not
ever,
fair. It's
ever
not
gonna
fair.
happen. But there we go. What can you do?
Okay. Ian, would you like to start the ball rolling with your first
Well,
favourite Star Trek?
you're number 5. You're 5th.
You're number
We're
five,
going to
yeah.
start from the bottom.
You're doing it in reverse order. Of course you're doing it in
from the
reverse
bottom.
order.
All right. Okay.
This is YouTube. You
Right,
have to do it in
first
reverse order.
Next Generation. Now, I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it 1100, 1001, or however you want?
00110011. That thing in binary.
Yeah, the thing is
Yeah,
binary.
exactly.
Yeah.
The Binars episode. Now, for me, the things I liked about it the most, the actual Binars themselves being they're always paired off and they have to operate sort of as a sort of a group instead of just being on their own.
Quite typically binary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally
Yeah.
binary.
I mean, that was interesting, but it was more sort of the latter half of the episode that I enjoyed the most. I mean, mostly seeing Picard taking the helm after how many years it had been since he's sort of been a helmsman.
Yeah, that was quite cool.
And the piece of music they were playing, was it a version of the motion picture theme or a generic?
Yeah, yeah. Which they
And he's sort of
used to
seeing
do
it flying slowly into space dock. I thought, yeah.
Yeah. Never
But,
used the footage for anything ever. Honest.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
Yeah, I mean, considering it was which season it was from,
Yeah.
that's one of the jewels in the crown for that season,
Yeah.
I think, to be fair.
So what would be your number 5?
My number 5 is Darmok.
Oh,
Ooh.
yeah, you like
Yes,
it.
yeah.
Oh god, I love that. It's one of those episodes I can watch and watch and watch and watch and watch.
And you have gone through so many versions of that jacket.
Yes, I do have the jacket.
Yeah, he does. He loves that jacket.
Yeah.
I'm officially impressed.
And it's actually made of velvet, which is like really nice. It's a little velvety thing. I'm like, oh, and it suits me. But as far as the episode is concerned, Paul Winfield's in it, so yay. And just the general theme of it. The only thing about that episode that ever ticked me off was the phaser coming out of the photon torpedo tube.
Which they've rectified.
But they've rectified that on Blu-ray, so yay!
Okay, so my number 5
Yeah.
would be Voyager, Year of Hell.
Ooh.
Love that one. Such a great one. All the characters at their best and worst, and just
Yeah.
and poor Voyager. Wow, that ship can take a beating.
Repeatedly, apparently.
Repeatedly, yeah. They just
Amazing what a travel line can take.
yeah. It was just a wonderful episode. It is there are only 2 other episodes of Voyager I have seen more times than those 2.
Okay.
Because I'm counting it as one of those 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair enough. Yeah, story, so, yeah.
And one of those 2 makes it into my honourable mentions.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, shall we go to number 4 then, Ian?
Yeah, next one, Star Trek First Contact.
Okay, yeah, I
Um,
can see that.
3 reasons. First of all, the design of the Enterprise, or the first time we see the Enterprise on screen.
Yeah.
And what's been, I think it's a life one in the books by Riker. It looks like it's doing warp fire standing still. That's sort of, it's sleek, it's still built for sort of scientific missions, but if they need to, and as we've seen in the past, it can handle itself really well in any combat situation. But
I must admit, one of my favourite shots from that film is when the Defiance, like, all a bit knackered, and suddenly the E comes past, and it's like
it's
suddenly,
a beautiful shot.
That's the size difference. Tough little ship.
I like little.
But I mean, so it's got your new uniforms. Is it sort of carrying on from what we had in DS9, but it's sort of a natural evolution, sort of more?
Yeah.
I know Starfleet isn't the military, but a more militaristic.
They were going into a more military phase for the organisation because of the Borg and then because of the Dominion.
Although I have to say, I really liked it now counts as alternative, but it was going to be the original Generations uniforms. I thought those were fantastic.
Yeah, they just refilmed everything that they were in, weren't they? Because they don't think it worked. But
idiots. But no, that version of the uniform does.
So, what's your favourite scene?
The main one for me, it'd have to be my last point. It's when the crew eventually find Zephyr Cochrane and they find out he's a drunk and he's at his lowest ebb. He's not a great sort of folk hero type figure. He's sort of been.
He's actually a man.
Yeah, he's a real person and not sort of living by what their ideal to be. He's just making, hang on a minute, this is the real Zephyr Cochrane, or is it just some random drug we found sort of in the bar listening to sort of 50s rock and roll music? So. Expression of hang on a minute, what the hell who is this person?
Yes, quite. Oh, yeah, that's quite cool. What's your? Should I go with my fourth now? Go with your fourth. Balance of Terror.
Ooh.
Original series.
Yes.
The reason I like it is not because of the actiony parts. It's because of the way they deal with Styles and the fact that he was immediately bigoted towards Spock the moment he saw the Romulans on board the other ship. The fact that the commander of the Romulan vessel looks awfully like Spock's dad is irrelevant, because we don't know that yet when we're watching this, because that's in the next season we find that out. But yeah, that was I quite enjoyed the whole. They were dealing with a wedding, then they were dealing with the death of one of the groom, and dealing with Spock coming to the conclusion.
They glazed over that quite nicely now, to be fair. But because we never saw her again.
Well, no, she wasn't transferred off. This is the thing, is that everybody, this is the one thing about Star Trek, you never see what happens to the people who transfer in and transfer off very much. Because at the end of the day, you have to question, why are all these senior officers on board the Enterprise D for 7 years? How does that even happen?
Well, you see, in the original series, it makes more sense.
They never got a promotion or permanent promotion anyway.
Yeah.
See, in the original series, it made more sense because they were on the 5-year mission.
Yeah. Well, technically, the Enterprise D was supposed to be on a 25-year mission.
Oh, but he never left. He kept circling.
Never going back to
planet.
Earth. Yes, you are.
And things stayed. It stayed boldly where everybody had gone.
Yeah. Such a shame.
Alright, mine is not going to be a vast surprise. People might be surprised that it's number 4, but nobody would be surprised by this one for me. It's a Mirror.
Right. Original series Mirror, fair enough.
Original series Mirror. That is, again, a fantastic episode. Shows the crew in an extreme version of normal circumstance. There's wonderful logic, wonderful reason, character development is good. It really did embody quite a lot of Star Trek. I mean, there's lots of conspiracy theories and things that cropped up after that episode, which if you think about it, you could read it in yourself, but just as a piece of cinematography, an amazing episode.
It's interesting that evil Spock is still a decent Spock.
Yeah, but this is the point, though. They weren't evil. They weren't evil versions of themselves. They were simply culturally different. You know, what happens if you live in a barbaric society? You're going to be barbaric. The Vulcans, see, only humanity was that way. Vulcans weren't. They were still under edict. They were still logical. It was pure, and he didn't display emotion. It was purely that the Vulcans had been, and they said, has been enslaved. Or did they put that in Enterprise?
That was in the Mirror Dark.
Yeah, it was in the Mirror Dark, but they were enslaved to the Federation, which it was.
The Empire.
The Empire.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Do you want to move on to your number 3, Ian?
Yeah, now, I've got a few hints of this by changing my cover photos recently, but this one, I can watch this all day long. DS9 Revisitor.
Sorry, what's the name?
The Visitor.
The Visitor. Ah, right. Yes. Yeah.
Strong episode.
Yeah.
From there, I mean, Tony Todd's performing, he's great when he's playing Kern, but seeing him as a human, as an older man, obviously an older version of Jake.
Yeah.
And the way he's portraying someone who's 40, 50 years older than he actually is, that was really impressive.
Yeah.
Seeing Nog in an alternate timeline, he's slowly progressing through the ranks, and one way he's captain, was at commanding, and you see him like a 24, 20s or something, he's made it to captain.
Yeah.
And I thought that's nice, because you see, obviously in later episodes, he gets a promotion to Lieutenant Junior grade in What You Leave Behind, I think it was, the last episode.
I think it might be just before that. It might be.
It was thereabouts.
It's after he lost his leg.
Yeah. But
So careless.
the best part for me was the reaction at the end when Ben Sisko's made his final appearance. He's realised Jake is now an old man, and he realises Jake has poisoned himself to release him so he can go back in time. And even though his son's now 34 years older than him, he still puts his arm around him, and as he's still his little boy, he's still his kid, and he's in pieces. And you think, oh my god, that's quite a tearjerker, that episode for me. That's quite a powerful episode.
Very well written and very, very well acted by all those involved in that, I think, personally. I think it's never going to be a favourite of mine, probably because of why it's a favourite of yours.
Yeah.
Because I look for something completely different in my episodes. But yeah, I can completely understand where you're coming from.
No, I get it.
Yeah. Right. My third place is Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home.
Yay!
Because
That was a classic.
that, frankly, is the most Star Trek of all of the Star Trek films for me.
Yeah.
It's got the tone, the characters are acting correctly. It's basically an original series episode.
Yeah, no, totally.
So it ticks all the boxes for me. And whereas all the other films around it with the classic Trek crew either were too science fiction to start with,
Oh, the motion picture.
then too dark for me,
Rathacon.
then what the hell.
Star Trek 5.
And then
See, I know this. I know all this up.
and then finishing off with too dark again.
6.
Yeah. Star Trek 4 is like the perfect blend. Star Trek 3 almost gets there,
It goes, but
the storyline just doesn't click as well. It kind of makes it one of the weaker Star Trek films in the end, even though what they were trying to do with it was really, really
Genius.
clever. It didn't get pulled off, except for stealing the Enterprise, which is quite possibly one of the most impressive bits of work they've ever done on it. And the music just for that is just like, wow. But Star Trek 4, what they did with it, it's a shame a couple of the scenes they planned didn't pan out. Like having
soon he met his grandfather, great grandfather or something.
Yeah, that would have been nice with him running out from the Yellow Pages building. And if Commodore had actually not been idiots and allowed an Amiga to be in that scene instead of the Mac, because Commodore didn't want to be associated with something like Star Trek. And you're like,
being saved or
the worst plan, that's the worst decision they ever made.
Yeah.
I just thought, really? Because that would have been an Amiga 1000. I'm just like, you idiots.
Should have been. Really should have.
Really should have been. But
I did love that scene with Scotty and McCoy in that factory, and he's trying to interact with the computer, and he's like, how quiet is it? Cracks his fingers and typing it a million times to see what the hell. That was brilliant. That was brilliant, that scene.
So, what's your third place?
Oh, you know this one. City on the Edge of Forever.
Simple and easy and very safe choice there, considering it's generally regarded as the best episode of the original series by most people.
It is, but the reason that it is considered that by most people is because it is. It's an amazing episode. that truly, it's every box ticked in one easy.
I'd say the only drawback with that episode, I think, is possibly DeForest, when he's on quarters in. Maybe a little bit over the top. But, yeah, I can see where you're going.
You see, the thing is, DeForest is an was an amazing actor.
Yeah.
But how else? I mean, he had to ham it up.
Yeah.
You know, and granted, in hindsight, we could we could quite easily go back and refilm every episode of Pacific Rim and do it far more subtle, far more nuanced, really put power and passion into it.
But this was 1960s.
But it was 1960s telly, it wouldn't have worked.
No, quite.
So, yeah, the thing is, I treat all the Star Treks as pieces of film from their time period. I treat all television, actually, as little snapshots from their own time period. Because the thing is, smoking has been outlawed in England, pretty much. Yeah. But Ghostbusters, I grew up with people.
It's kids' film.
It's a children's film.
Yeah.
But I grew up with people smoking all around me all the time. And there are points where, I'll be honest, I know you hate smoking with a passion, which is fine. I don't smoke it. I've never smoked.
Yeah.
But I don't like going into pubs now. Because I quite like the atmosphere, people smoking and chatting, and there was a feeling where pubs really don't have that. You go in and you smell rank beer, and
I prefer that smoke.
I know you do, but I'm saying I there's a touch of nostalgia missing for me. To a point now where I see some films, I'm like, those were the days. Sorry.
What's your number 2 then?
Before I get on to it, just something Dave was saying about his first favourite episode. Have either of you read the autobiography of James T. Kirk yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bit like reading is sort of showing a little. He's taken Edith out for a date, and he's sort of taken to a photo booth, and he's that shows more of what actually happened. He's there over 2 or 3 weeks there with stuff back in the 1930s, something along them lines.
Yeah.
I like that sort of back information, the fact when Kirk and Spock are supposed to be cleaning the basement, they said, we can't use a broom or to sweep stuff up, so they get their phasers out, and apparently they use a phaser to get rid of most of the dirt within sort of a couple of hours. I thought, they'd shown something like that actually in the episode, and not just had to wait for a book to tell us what could have happened, what actually happened.
It was lovely that they did that.
So Ian, what's your second place episode?
It's another DS9 episode, which is probably no surprise. Is it Facets or Faces? How you want to pronounce
Facets. It? Yeah.
It was funny. Well, it was nice to see Jadzia being able to physically interact with the previous host.
Yeah.
The thing that stands out to me most though is Odo when he merged with Kurdo, and he physically his face sort of changes, his hairstyle, the uniform changes. His voice changing.
Yeah.
I can never pronounce his surname. Rene. But yeah.
Auberginois.
Yeah. But he sort of seems.
Rene Auberginois.
Yeah. But seeing his range and all his acting skills, and he's able to sort of basically become a completely different character.
Yeah.
And near the end of the episode, when Jadzia confronts him and says, "Why did you wash me out of the program?" and he sort of finally admits he had sort of a crush or had feelings for her. Yeah. Again, sort of felt sorry for sort of letting her down and sort of how he acted. And she forgives him. I thought, that's the one. That's a great way of actually showing up.
Yeah.
Explaining the whole reason what happened. So
I must admit, I really did enjoy that episode. That was
good episode.
Really well done. It made an awful lot of sense to me. Yes, I completely agree with you.
Yes, so what's yours?
It's a 3-part episode.
Oh, good God, it's best of both worlds.
Yes, it is. It's best of both worlds.
Because he counts family as part of that.
Family is best of both worlds, part 3. I don't care what anybody says. It's a 3-episode story.
Gives you quite a bit of closure. We need to do a lot.
Exactly. Picard gets some closure.
No, I agree that it belongs in there. I just don't count it as 3 episodes. It's not. It's definitely a separate story.
Nope. But yeah, I mean, best of both worlds. That first episode, especially leading up to the cliffhanger, which must have driven everybody in the States mental for 6 months, or whatever, how long it was.
Did for me.
Yeah, but we got it. Oh no,
I didn't know he was having them shipped over from the States. I had them the next day.
Yeah, I think you look. That's not nice, David. That's not nice.
VHS. They were FedExed over to me.
But
that's just cheap, that is.
I do like the one quote that Patrick Stewart comes out with when he was in LA during that summer.
Yeah.
He stops at some lights and people recognise him and go, "You have ruined our summer!" Just like, that's brilliant. But I mean, I think I fall into a category with a lot of people where the first 2 copies of that episode set on VHS got worn out. Yeah. Then I had it on Laserdisc, then I had it on DVD, and now I've got it on Blu-ray. And I was quite close to the point with the DVD where I think it might have stopped working if I kept trying to play it. So yeah, but you can't not best of both worlds because it's, for a lot of people, it's the best episode of TNG. It sets up First Contact. It is really well done.
Oh, it is excellent.
And the fact that Michael Piller wrote himself into a corner in the first one and had to get himself out of it in the second one because he didn't think he was coming back to do season 4. And just like brilliant. And then Family just tops it off with the whole, this is the effect it had on Jean-Luc. Yeah, it was just really well done. And we got to make the Ruzenko, which was quite cool. So there we go.
Well, if we can count Family on to Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and 2 to count as one episode, can my next one just be Star Trek?
No.
No, not. Okay, so number 2 then.
Yes. And after this, we'll do our honourable mentions before we go for our number 1.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2. This will surprise a few people. Star Trek 6.
No, it won't.
Love the Undiscovered Country. It was fantastic. I know people go, it's too dark, it's too militaristic, it's I don't care.
It helps when it's the full version and not the
it's got to be the full version. And the thing is,
it
amazes me how many versions, the end versions of that film they have done, and yet the one that always gets broadcast on television is when it's the Klingon falls and not the human.
Yeah,
and that amuses. It's like, what?
Yeah, when they don't take off the Klingon headdress and find Rennie Aubergenois. Rennie.
Yeah. I just a great film.
Well, I know what your number 1 is, then, don't I?
Okay, so honourable mention.
Well, go through all 5 of your honourable mentions, and then I'll do mine, and then David will do his.
No surprise, another Deep Space Nine episode we've forgotten.
I've forgotten it.
Yeah.
Which one was
when
that?
the infant changeling is found and brought to the station, and Odo.
Yes. The one that basically sacrifices itself to give Odo his change. Dirty back.
I mean, what I liked about that is seeing a more of a softer side. I mean, Odo's usually quite stern and sort of, that's how he normally is. We're seeing him a bit more sort of relaxed and sort of being caring for a change.
Yeah.
He made peace with Dr. Mora, who's the scientist who sort of basically brought him up.
Yeah.
And Odo's expression, you get his shapeshift again after sort of a year or a couple of months, however long he was without his powers, and turned into a hawk or an eagle and flying along the promenade. I thought, I like that. That was quite powerful. Sort of, one of my favourite episodes. Number 2, Next Generation, Second Chances.
Well, yeah. Yeah, completely agree with that. That would be in my top 20, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's in my top 20.
I mean, what stood out for me, the start of the episode when Will was playing a band and Janet keeps having to go and still play Nightbird, and he's sort of looking, he's sort of physically oh God, do I really have to? And he's sort of stalling for time, and all the last minute his comm badge goes off, and he goes, oh, thank God for that.
Yeah.
The design of the alien crew member who's part of the band, I don't know if that's the only time he or she appeared, or...
Don't remember him turning up at any other point. It might have been in the background in a small way, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was reading about this episode on Memory Alpha, and apparently they wanted to kill off Will, make Data Exo, and then have Thomas sort of take over as ops.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have minded that. I wouldn't.
That would have been
Sort
interesting.
of see Tom come back would have made an interesting story from then on to see what happened.
I kind of like what they had planned with Thomas as it was, but it's a shame they never saw it through.
Yeah, they never.
But that's for another time, I think, to explain that one.
That's a long one for people who don't know the history of track.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
My third, I've actually got an Enterprise one this time, guys. Affliction/Divergence.
Yeah?
Like I say, as you were saying earlier, you said in some of your videos before, getting an in-universe explanation for the smooth foreheads and the little lack of facial cranial ridges.
It's a fantastic one. Yeah.
It was really well.
Yeah.
Again, it was just. It's season 4 of Enterprise. It's
Season 4 Enterprise
There was one
phenomenal.
episode of season 4 of Enterprise that fell down, and it was the last one. All of the rest of it
was gold.
was great.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
Seeing John Shook or Shuck.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know, it's just about his voice, the way he's, I don't know, his accent or just his general voice when he's speaking. You listen, you don't sort of wander off the screen, you don't sort of stop paying attention, you're glued to the screen when he's speaking.
Yeah, he has distinct authority regardless.
Yeah.
And
But
for those who don't
James,
realise who's watching that, John Shook played the Klingon ambassador in Star Trek.
yeah.
In 4, and he was in 6 as well, wasn't he? Yeah.
But his and James Avery's performances, as I was here, I say James Avery's appearance as a Klingon ambassador got a big sort of general or major or whatever he was.
Yeah.
I'm glad he made it. The thing that made it I enjoyed the most was when Trip was moving between the Enterprise and the Columbia.
Yeah.
At warp, and he's sort of got halfway and he's looked and he's sort of seeing the stars sort of shooting by at warp, and he's bloody hell, that's something sort of no humour any person's ever done before, and I think that'd be one hell of an experience.
Yeah. Completely.
Seeing it from that perspective instead of just being stuck behind the view screen.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, Deep Space Nine Emissary.
Well, yeah.
Primarily, as the first Star Trek series I saw from the pilot/premiere episode, because I was at high school at the time, so that would make you two a bit older. I feel a bit older.
Shush.
Just
a tad.
Yeah. Anyway, what I liked about it most, Sisko forgiving Picard for his unwilling part in the Battle of Hall 359.
Yeah.
And Sisko getting a bit of closure, and same for Picard.
Yeah.
And Sisko being unsure if he actually wanted to raise Jake on the station / a remote outpost instead of sort of back on Earth or on a starship. And he's really thinking, it's the first time I'm getting seen a single parent who's in the service.
Yeah.
Whatever decisions he makes at some point is going to impact on Jake's sort of upbringing and sort of future. So
yeah, completely. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was nice seeing. I mean, it was obviously necessary to cross over with TNG during that episode because this was the first time they tried to do a show without the Enterprise. So that was a springboard. But as a pilot, I think they did remarkable work on that, and the fact that they had to create the Battle War 359, which they couldn't afford to do for Best of Both Worlds. They'd already used the budget. So it was nice actually seeing that, and the fact that Klingons were there. So that was an awfully nice bit of that. Yeah. Sure.
And last but not least, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
Well, of course. Yes.
But I'll explain why. Kirk's reaction when he learns Khan A is alive and 2 is in command of the Reliant.
Yeah. That look on it.
going sort of for a director's cut or special edition, Peter Preston's death and then learning he's Scotty's nephew.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a kid.
You think they're a bunch of cadets, but it brings it home.
Yeah, how that got edited out, I've no idea. I don't know.
Because otherwise, it makes no sense that he's on the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
But you brought it home, you think, oh yeah, they're a bunch of cadets, but then you find out sort of one of them's actually got a relative or a senior officer, and you think, hang on a minute, that's hit him really hard because he's supposed to be sort of killing the street on his nephew. The talk he must have had with his sister at Starfleet.
Yeah, he stayed at his post when the other trainees ran.
Yeah.
And so why would he even say that if it,
it doesn't make sense without the,
It's nice seeing him a bit earlier on as well when he, there's the one scene when he kind of, he stands up to Kirk a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But there is still a little bit of that that's still missing even in the director's cut, where he actually challenges Admiral Kirk.
Yeah.
There's a bit of footage that I don't know if it's been put back into the Blu-ray versions. I've not seen that yet. Where he basically challenges Kirk and said, "But this is the best ship in the fleet." That's quite cool. It's like, what is this crewman saying? This crewman is standing up to an admiral and saying, "This ship, we're talking about the Enterprise, is the best ship in the fleet." I think Admiral Kirk might know. But there we go.
But the last part about the battle in the Mutara Nebula.
Yeah.
And they start sort of descending, sort of changing their sort of altitude in there, but then reaching up behind, just about seeing where the line is, and then open fire and sort of multiple phaser shots and firing a torpedo at it. That was an intense battle.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I haven't seen the Wrath of Khan director's cut on Blu-ray yet is because that sequence right at the end is screaming at me, you need to watch this in HDR.
Yeah.
Because the colours and just the backdrop of that, if they have in fact mastered that in 4K like Nick Meyer has suggested, that's in 4K HDR, that's going to look gorgeous.
Amazing.
It's going to look absolutely amazing. I think the only thing that will look better than that will be Beyond in HDR.
In HDR.
Yeah, because the number of colours in that and the way that's filmed is just like, but there we go. Right, is that all your 5? That's all your 5, isn't it?
5.
It is, yeah, it's all 5.
Okay.
My honourable mentions.
My honourable mentions are, firstly, Devil in the Dark.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Great episode.
I don't really need to explain that one, do I? But I will anyway. Just the whole, it's something so alien, we can't relate to it. Spock manages to, and then you end up with a storyline where you're actually working alongside the monster of the week, which is just, that's so Trek and wouldn't have happened in basically any other franchise.
No, I'm with you.
Something completely different, wasn't it? They took it didn't sort of follow the usual trope, or let's actually collaborate with them and not try to kill them and kill the young.
Especially when it dawns on the leader of the colony, or mining colony, that they've been killing this thing's babies.
Yeah.
Destroying its eggs, and they had no idea, and they suddenly hold on, we're the monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really well handled. I think, again, that's one of the early examples of this is what Star Trek means.
Yeah.
And that's why it sticks in my head, and that's why I enjoy it so much. Next one is a 2-part story. Images in the Sand and the Shadows and Symbols.
Oh, season 7.
Yes. I think you both know why.
I do.
Yes.
Just explain for me, Sam. Explain for me and the audience. I'm curious.
Esri?
Oh, well, apart from the audience.
No, that is it. That is his only reason.
Bearing in mind that the first time I saw it was the weekend I met Nicole de Boer.
Yeah.
That
I
explains.
actually met her before I saw the episodes.
Yeah.
So that in itself is quite a unique situation.
And was it actually the speed of light you fell in love with her, or was there a nanosecond?
Pretty much,
between
yeah.
Jesus.
No,
it's all about
but
HMS
the
going out
thing
there.
is, she likes him back.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tremendous. To the point where her husband gets a bit funny about it.
Only happened the once he got annoyed.
Only the one. No.
That's all it takes, man. That's all it takes.
Next one, Caretaker.
You what?
Caretaker.
Hey? I
I'm
didn't expect that.
genuinely confused that a Voyager even made it onto your list, let alone Caretaker.
For me, it's the best of the pilots.
Hmm.
No, it's not the best of the pilot, but yeah, okay.
I think it's the best of the pilots, except for the Cage.
I was about to say you have seen the cage.
But that ended up not being the pilot for TOS, didn't it? It ended up being a standalone thing.
In my head, it's the pilot.
It's the pilot for TNG. What do you think,
Anyway.
number one?
Moving on.
Caretaker.
Caretaker.
For me, Caretaker was a really, really good episode. Really well acted. Loved it. The fact that Kate Mulgrew had basically come onto the set on the fly and had to take up the mantle after 2 days of filming with Genevieve Bourgeois.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
And then the rest of the first season of Voyager was complete tripe for me.
Yep, for you.
Caretaker was excellent. The rest of the season, complete rubbish.
Okay.
And it took them a while to get back to the point where I wanted to watch it, frankly. I've mellowed since then. My next and penultimate choice is In a Mirror Darkly,
Yeah.
because the Defiant.
Defined. Javar Pavan, basically a tribute to Spock's beard.
Yeah.
That was a nice. I like that. That was a nice little touch on that. I thought, oh, that's an idea.
Yeah. The Gorn.
Yes.
But one of the things in that was the first time ever seeing the ship come out of the asteroid starbase, which has been done much, much better since, and a lot worse since. And the better one was done by a fan film, and the worst one was done by CBS. But the fan film version, which involved the refitted Phase 2 style Enterprise done by Tobias Richter, is ridiculously good and actually shows up the Enterprise one a little bit. But both of them really make the Discovery one look terrible. But there we go. And I'm now going to be hunted down and killed by lots of people who are Star Trek fans who don't accept a certain thing as being Star Trek by saying Star Trek Beyond.
Really? That made it into your top 5 honourable mention?
Yes, because it was a Star Trek film.
Oh no, totally.
And I enjoyed it immensely.
No, I agree. It's great.
And, I'm hoping that the next one, which has been greenlit anyway, is written by the same people, because it will come. And I'm hoping that Paramount won't put so much restriction on them as they did with Beyond, because even with that restriction, they pushed through as much Trek stuff as they could, and you could feel it. But you could also feel that they'd been held back a little bit, to me, because Paramount told you can't make it too Star Trek. It was like
I've got a 10-foot banner in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to sell that one.
Now, I'm hoping that now we've lost Anton, or chap, and may he rest in peace, that we get Jayla as the new con officer. That would be good. And that would be excellent. But yes, absolutely, Star Trek Beyond, loved it. Can't wait to get it on home video. I'm hoping to see that in 4K at some point. If I can ever afford a 4K television and a 4K Blu-ray player, that'll be the first film I'll put on it.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Honourable mentions for
Honourable mentions for me. In the Mirror Darkly.
Yeah.
For some of the reasons he mentioned, plus that's the whole mirror universe for me is a big thing.
Empress Saga.
Yeah. Which might lead the next honourable mention. So it's actually some of our viewers know this, some don't. I actually have a Star Trek tattoo, and it took me a long time to decide what I was actually having tattooed. And I've got a Celtic armband to hide the actual tattoo, because I work on the basis of, if you're not a Star Trek fan, you don't know what it is. I have the Mirror Universe logo from Crossover,
Right, so you've got the Alliance logo, haven't you?
I've got the Alliance logo.
The
Klingon Cardassian
Yeah.
logo. That's my tattoo. An amazing episode, a great one. It's the only DS9 episode to make it into my honourable mentions.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I've got anything against DS9, it just doesn't rank quite as high as the others. Now, this is going to be interesting. What do you think is the only TNG
I know what
to
the
make it into my...
because you're always going on about this episode.
Go on.
It's Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Lower Decks is yeah.
Which should have tied in with Second Chances in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Should have.
After Defiant.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Moving on. Then, another Voyager. And you know that this is my favourite.
Living Witness?
Living Witness.
There we go.
Absolutely love that, because it goes to show that even with all the right intentions and with all the belief in the universe, time can choose to judge you very differently, and the victor's always right. The history.
Yeah.
Plus that was an amazing episode.
And it gives you an excuse to wear a Voyager uniform with a black undershirt
cover
and a pair of gloves on.
And leather gloves and slap people, which is just awesome. I love that. And I love the fact that the character of the Doctor was actually willing to raise himself rather than be the cause of more death. It's an amazing episode. So, yeah. Okay. Oh, this one's going to be the one where Sven officially disowns my friend, because I think he's not going to suspect this one. It's a movie. It's Star Trek 5.
Drop the mic. What?
Doesn't stones all
Are
around.
you insane?
No.
It's because of all the little Star Trek moments, as DeForest put it himself.
And I mean, don't get me wrong.
I do realise that if we edited it down to 20 minutes of just Star Trek moments, I might actually agree with you.
Yeah, the whole of the character thing is lovely. The fact that it showed us DeForest's pain was just stunning. The fact, and it's a case of, if you take it, and there's some the ship there were some beautiful shots of the ship in that one, which really loved me.
The effects in it were terrible. It looked like a cardboard cutout was being moved around.
Seriously, some of the ones.
Really?
Some of the interior shots.
What speed now? Oh, look, cardboard cutout.
No. It's the interior. It's the ship interior.
You mean the Enterprise D?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was the
Yes,
Enterprise
I
D.
know, but no.
They didn't even bother redressing it properly. It's the Enterprise
They
D.
did a decent enough job. The bit that really... there was
Look at the inside of my Galaxy class starship I'm hiding within this Constitution class reefer.
The two bits that really got to me was Kirk. I need my pain.
Yeah.
I love that.
Question. Would you keep in the fan dance? Would you keep...
Actually, no. Yes, I would keep in the fan dance. It makes me cringe and it's horrific and horrible. But yes, I would keep it in because it was fun and nice and the concept was good.
Would you keep in, I know this ship like the back of my hand, bang?
Yep.
Right. I would.
Same.
I would. But
Temple I see now.
I'm going to get the man in the white coat right now.
What does God need with a starship?
Yeah. What does God need with the face of the chief medical officer in the Battlestar Galactica?
But no, it's one of those. Yeah.
JP, Admiral Hanson.
Yeah.
There we go.
As I said, I know that the thing is, I know that people think it's weird that one makes it as high up as it does, but it is. It really is.
They may have to go and get you to see a psychiatrist to realise that.
I love that. Huh?
Mental.
I mean, the thing, yeah, but you've got to bear in mind. I mean, I know everybody goes on about the motion picture, and don't get me wrong. Even I sit with the fast forward button through all the glorious shots of the ship. But I really like the motion picture.
The motion picture is a wonderful piece of science fiction.
It's a marvellous film and a wonderful piece of science fiction. It just seriously, I really think they need to get like 20 genuinely knowledgeable fans in a room and re-edit that damn film down.
Well,
It's
take the
all the
director's
shit.
cut and yeah.
It's all the shit. Get rid of the shit.
But don't you
And-
find it ironic that we all complain about all of these glory shots of the ship? Well, most people do. And then we sit at home with our little starships and go, wow.
You
Look
do.
at that
No,
shit.
you do. You do.
Look at this.
You do. Right, so, what's your number one?
Will Riker.
Yeah.
Not for me. For me, it's number one.
Major Barrett.
It's episode from Voyager, Tuvix.
Yes. Fantastic episode.
Really?
Yeah. What's wrong with Tuvix? It shows character development over a period of time. It demonstrates a hard choice for the crew and for the actors involved. It shows wonderful piece from Janeway as a command structure. The cinematography was really good. The uniform changes were good. The whole development arc was good. It was a great episode. And it shows a transporter accident. Every Trek needs a transporter accident.
And even this one. I mean, what I like most about the episode is that Tom Wright, who actually played Tuvix.
Yeah.
Wasn't he? He got both characters so well.
Yeah. We actually designed the games where he sort of gave him a Vulcan ears, but then you could see his head, head spots on his forehead, so you sort of tell he's a combination of half Vulcan, half Galaxian. The decision Janeway had to make, and you think, was there part of her who didn't actually want to kill Tuvix, or sort of reintegrate so they can sort of bring two Vulcan Neelix back? That's something I'm curious about. And
Like Voyager's in the Pale Moonlight, isn't it?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the last thing for me, what the show was basically the same as Second Chances. What would the show been like? What would the show have been like if they'd actually let him live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be like a bit of fan fiction at some point. Who knows? But
Yeah.
it'd been.
There's an alternative universe out there where he lived. It
Yeah,
can be
no, look,
it can be visited.
I've got nothing but respect for Tim Ross and Ethan Phillips as actors and playing the characters.
Yeah.
But it shook things up a bit on Voyager, at least for a week or how many long he was alive on that episode.
Imagine how interesting it would have been if they had have found a way to reconstitute them both separately, but keep to it. So you had all three. That would have made a really interesting choice.
They could have integrated a second confinement beam and just done a second chance.
we could spitball science fiction. At the end of the day, the dude went to the and this happened.
Yeah.
We could all do it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about sci-fi. Nobody needs to die in sci-fi. No. So,
My number one is an episode that's one of the first ones with Guinan in. You've got basically Whoopi Goldberg and Patrick Stewart exchanging a bit of dialogue that makes you suddenly sit up and really take notice to what's going on in the show. And also, if you've got it on Blu-ray, watch the extended version because you get to see Jonathan Frakes doing some acting, which is always nice to see. And it's Measure of a Man.
Oh, yes.
Because, again, you probably noticed there's quite a theme going on in my choices in that they're very, very Star Trek episodes.
Yeah.
In theme and in tone, and the reasons why Garmock and Balance of Terror there, and Voyage Home, and Family has been woven in with Best of Both Worlds. I've mentioned Devil in the Dark. I've mentioned Star Trek Beyond because they're Star Trek.
yeah.
And Measure of a Man underlines the whole anti-slavery thing and examines that with extreme detail. And I think it's a fantastically written episode, which is doubly so considering it was written by a rookie.
Yeah.
It was the first teleplay that the writer had done after being a lawyer, which is just like, wow, okay.
which
Fantastic.
carries over.
Mm.
Okay, now my number one, I have to say that I love Star Trek for many of the same reasons you do, and a lot of the episodes you have picked are exactly what you said. They are true Star Trek, and I do know what, in my head, what true Star Trek is. Living Witness is real Star Trek because it goes to show.
Yeah.
There's
a moral debate there.
Yeah, the Doctor willing to decompile his program in order to. That is a very Star Trek thing to do. Lower Decks is a very Star Trek one. It goes to show you. So, and I'm very aware that the episodes and the films I have picked do not depict Star Trek at its best, but they only work because of the episodes that really are Star Trek, which makes my number one choice a real bugger because it is absolutely fantastic, but it is not great Star Trek. The Wrath of Khan is my all-time favourite Star Trek. Everybody knows The Wrath of Khan is my favourite. It's most people's favourite.
Yeah. Most people's favourite.
But the thing is, it only works, and it really does work so well, because of all the Star Trek that preceded it. If you didn't have a great love and respect for the characters, if you didn't know their history, if you didn't know their interactions, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And that's why it worked.
Whereas when they try to redo it,
they failed
miserably because of exactly those reasons.
Yeah, you didn't give a toss.
And you came out of the cinema going, what did they just do?
Yeah. Ow, my childhood.
Yeah. just like me watching a Bay Transformers movie. I was like, what did you do?
Why would you do this?
Why would you do that?
I'll tell you what's really weird though, and I've experienced it several times, but those Star Trek films really did do it. There's something about me watching remakes that, even if it's a good or a bad remake, it's the tech that upsets me more than anything else. In Ghostbusters, it was the only thing that really got on my nerves was the tech. I was going, what, why, no! It's always the technology.
I did find it quite disturbing they were lubricating handguns with tongues.
Oh, it's like Mary Jane. Boom.
Yeah.
Actually, weird side note, I named my first shotgun Mary Jane.
Things we don't need to know.
How strange is it? Yeah, but how strange is that I did that and then they used it in profit? I love that.
Right.
Yeah. Anywho, moving on.
Well, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, wow. You all know a little bit more about the rest of us that I really wish you didn't. So, thank you very much for joining us for this conversation.
Just that natural.
Yeah, stop messing about that.
See what I have to put up with.
Picky. He's picky, that's the problem.
I noticed that.
Him in bloopers.
Oh.
You know what the worst thing is? I didn't watch. I watched our first episode, cringed, and went, well, I'm never watching one of those again. I didn't realise he was putting bloopers on until I was at an event and somebody went, the bloopers are so great on your videos. At which point I was like, the what? The what now?
The what now?
Right, we have power. Excellent.
Yay.
Yes. Get you, boy McGrew, cut the civil.
I watched there'd be a blacker box set. That's horrible! I'm just stuffing my face the whole way. We're never doing that again.